So the Manchester United first team has not started the season particularly well, leading to this feeling of doom and gloom around the football club. But that shouldn't actually be the case. We shouldn't be too negative, because our academy, what this football club has always been built upon, has actually been doing really well, particularly our under-18s currently led by Fletcher. They've played 4 matches in the league. In that time, they've won all 4 of them, conceded no goals, while scoring 11 along the way. Today I'm going to tell you what impresses me so much about this team. So in terms of the starting 11, Fletcher has been somewhat flexible. He's been quite rotational with his team and used a few different players. But I would say on average the starting 11 has looked something like this. You could probably make a change or two. On paper, the teams look like it plays in a 4-2-3-1 shape. However, actually, once United get going, it sort of changes, particularly when we're trying to move the ball forward and when we're trying to be progressive from deeper positions. What we will actually see at times is our 10, our attacking midfielder, actually moving a little bit further forward alongside the centre forward, and we become a bit more of a 4-2-4. And the reason why United are trying to do this is to access these spaces outside of the opposition centre-backs, especially when our centre-backs have the ball. Someone like Kukonki is very progressive, right? He's left-footed on the left-hand side of the fence. He's excellent at finding forward passes. What we're seeing from United is we will start off in a sort of 4-2-3-1 or a 4-3-3, but this player here is often going to drift forward, almost becoming another striker. But the important thing is, whilst he is moving into this advanced position, the 2 players now highest up the pitch, whoever they may be on the day, they don't actually fully connect themselves to the opposition centre-backs, and it seems to be really causing a lot of problems in the league at the moment. Defenders don't seem able to deal with them. They don't quite know how to pick them up, because they're sort of elusive with their movement. They drift into these areas before receiving the ball, and then they make runs off each other, so if one of them is high, the other one's going to be deeper, and also vice versa. And it's genuinely causing a lot of problems. We can see an example of this here. You can see United have very much changed shape here. There's a back 4, there's 2 in midfield, and then essentially a front 4. And like I said, Kukongi is the perfect player to find these forward passes, but this is what I'm talking about. A midfielder moving more advanced, almost becoming a centre forward, but not actually fully attaching himself to the centre backs. And you can see the distances that United are creating, and from a position like this, you can see how United would be able to progress the ball. We've got another situation here. Kukonki once again firing the ball through the lines. And again, we've got that midfield runner. Players arriving from deep into higher positions, almost stretching and sometimes surprising the opposition defence, allowing United to move the ball forward very quickly and genuinely becoming a massive threat. Now, because of these players making runs off the ball, being these forward runners making runs past the last line, it also means that United can occasionally overload midfield. Now, initially, that may not make too much sense. If all of our forwards are running away from the ball, how are we actually going to overload this position here? Well, actually, it's by using our number 9, our striker, dropping a little bit deeper, almost into a false 9 position, to create overloads in these midfield areas. We know that opposition centre-backs are not going to want to follow a centre-forward too deep, so at times it allows United to outnumber the opposition midfield. And when you can do that, you have a spare man. And when you've got a spare man, but also technical quality, which United possess in abundance, particularly in this double pivot, a lot of technical quality there. But if you have the spare man in there, if you have the extra player, United are going to be able to move the ball in these positions. We've got a lovely example of this here. This is the centre forward, but look how deep he is actually dropping into midfield. And when he picks the ball up, you can see the opposition player is not close to him. He's too far away because he's hesitant to follow our player this deep. Centre-backs don't want to go this far away from their defence, so it leaves them a little bit short, and that's when United then have a 3 versus 2. We've got another situation here, the centre forward, granted this time much higher up the pitch, but again, willing to drop deeper, willing to overload in midfield and give United those extra numbers. Now, of course, having extra numbers in this midfield area is a good thing because it allows United to create overloads, but when you're playing against low blocks, it can actually become a bit of a problem. If you've got too many players in this position here, you sort of start to block each other. You almost take up each other's positions and remove the space in midfield. Or you may do if you aren't tactically well set up, but this United side are. And what United do really well is they open up spaces before then going into spaces. So let's say you're in this position here, and let's say one of the centre-backs has the ball, or perhaps a full-back has the ball in this position, and they want to move the ball forward into here. Currently, they can't, because this opposition player is blocking the way, because there's 2 United players there. So what we will see from United is one of the players making a movement away to open the space. So for example, the central midfielder might rotate a little bit higher, taking this player with him, and then that's when United can drop into these deeper positions. And that's really, really important. It's all well and good, like I said, having loads of players in the middle, but there is always the risk of blocking each other. However, if you vacate space, creating space for someone else to move into, then actually it can quickly become very fluid and United can smoothly move the ball forward. Again, particularly when we boast such good technical quality in the centre. Now this here is exactly what I'm talking about. We can see this part of the pitch is a little bit congested, and realistically, there is no easy way to find that ball into the forwards' feet because it's too congested. Until the United players are willing to make selfless runs away from this position to create space. So the midfielder here moves a little bit higher and a little bit wider. It opens up this space in the middle, and now our forward can drop deep. These selfless runs is brilliant to see from young footballers. Making these selfless runs to benefit a teammate is exactly what we want to see, and it's making United at times really progressive through the middle. Now, as well as being progressive through the middle, United also find it quite easy to move the ball in wider zones as well. And the reason for that is because of the positioning of the two fullbacks. Now, we might assume that typically fullbacks would be in these two positions here. So, of course, we are talking the right back here and the left back over here. This is where you may expect to find them. However, there is a problem with that. If I'm in this advanced position, I cause the opposition winger to play a little bit wider, closer to me, and I'm actually almost blocking access to my own winger. However, if I move a little bit deeper, the opposition no longer see me as a threat. So what the wide player will now do is tuck in a little bit deeper to be compact with his teammates. This is where United are opening up really simple progression to the wide player, who is then able to go 1 versus 1. And for me personally, as a Manchester United fan, this is what I like to see. Young players given the license to express themselves, picking themselves up in a 1 versus 1 position out wide and being given the license to take this guy on, to attack them. Now, of course, it's not always going to work. Sometimes you're going to lose the ball, you're going to overturn possession. But I love to see that they are given this freedom to express themselves. Now, these players expressing themselves is important, but so is us actually finding a way to get there. And you can see what I'm talking about here. The fullback right in the bottom right of the picture here, really wide, really deep. The opposition player doesn't even bother going near him. He stays in his tucked in position. But like I said, it's almost opening up a really easy passing angle. Again, Kukonki is really useful in these positions, and it allows us to get to our winger. 1 versus 1, he can pick the ball up and now he can attack. We can see the same here. We've got a deep, wide fullback. The opposition player doesn't really engage. Kukonki has the easy pass forward. We are able to pick the ball up and attack. And also, it can happen on the far side of the pitch as well. A little bit more difficult to see in this shot because it's so far away, but you can see United doing the same thing. This is the centre-back currently on the ball. If we look over here, we've got the fullback really deep, and again, of course, United can play to the winger. Now, I always feel that feeding the ball to your winger in 1 versus 1 situations is a seriously beneficial thing to do, because they can go 1 versus 1, and they can make a little bit of magic happen. But sometimes they do need some support. For example, they don't always want to go out wide. Not every winger wants to spend all day going down the outside of a fullback. Sometimes they want to go inside, but that can be difficult to do because the centre of the pitch is so congested. So how do you occasionally open up the middle of the pitch for the wingers to come into? Well, you get runners off the ball. Now, sometimes that will be the fullback, sometimes that will be one of the midfielders. But the important thing is that they take the attention of the defender. So, for example, as we fire this ball into our winger initially, if we want to let him go 1 versus 1, we can. But if we want him to come inside, he needs some support. So what we may see on his first touch is that he may come back towards his own goal. This is the cue for the fullback to fly around on the overlap, which takes the attention of this fullback here. And now our winger can be more aggressive and come into this space with a little bit of time. If the fullback was still deeper, the opposition player would simply shut out that space. We can also see it on the other side of the pitch as well. So let's say our fullback is deep, the opposition are compact. We fire the ball into our winger, 1 versus 1 initially, but he wants to go inside the pitch. Well, perhaps a midfielder can help out. If someone from deeper can make the run past the opposition, draw players, then we can see that this space is now created. Now, this really is a theme of the under-18s wide play, and I think it's so good to see players being encouraged, again, to make runs off the ball, knowing that a lot of the time they're not going to get it. It's really selfless work, and it's good to see from such young players. You can see it here. Our winger picks the ball up, and clearly his first touch has come backwards, so he needs some support. We can see the off-ball run. The player running in behind, but it opens up that space in midfield. Now our winger can attack that space. Same on the other side. We pick the ball up on the right-hand side. The off-the-ball run, a selfless run, a player from deep, bursting forward, putting all of his energy into the run, knowing that he's not even going to get the ball. But what he is going to do, if I can find the right tool, is open up this space here. And then our wingers can roll into this space on their first touch and be aggressive. And if wingers are driving inside with a bit of time and space, we know they can make magic happen, right? That might be a finish into the far corner, or it might be a cute pass in the final third. The point is, they're given this license to explore and express themselves because of the tactical setup. Now, I think what impresses me most when watching the under-18s is that it feels like a United team. They attack fast and they attack slow. They're able to change the tempo. And Darren Fletcher made a comment the other day about United needing to attack fast, wanting to do that because it's in the club's DNA.
No, and the fast attacks as well as proper United.
This picture here is exactly what Fletcher is talking about. Yes, in the modern game you do see a lot of slow football, but when you get the opportunity to break quick, when the opposition have reduced numbers at the back, why not go for it? And I love to see these players being given, again, the license to attack. In this position, he's not slowing down. He's not waiting for support. He is attacking his man. He's a young player, not scared of what could go wrong, just getting at his man. But importantly, United never lack numbers. All of these players are keen to get forward very, very quickly. And it forces these players into positions where they've got to make decisions for themselves, where perhaps the system doesn't help so much. It's more off the cuff. But I think that's what we want to see in young players. Decision making, problem solving themselves in terms of the long term for their career. I think this is really useful, and I just love that we can play slow but we're encouraged to play forward. You got the fullback here getting his head up nice and early. He sees the forward pass, so he's allowed to play it. He doesn't have to go backwards. He doesn't have to recycle possession for the sake of it because we need possession numbers. He's allowed to hoof it. He's allowed to punt it forward over the top, but it's not aimless. You know, there's always a plan with these balls over the top because we've always got runners in the final third and we always create these good opportunities. Now, just the final thing that I wanted to talk about with the under-18s is the ability to play in a few different ways. We've seen United building possession in a back four, but here, for example, it is very much a back three that they are using to build possession. What I also love, though, is the tempo change. We've seen direct wingers. We've seen wingers going 1 versus 1. We've seen runners from deep positions. We've seen direct football. But also, when United need to and feel it's right, they can slow the ball down. I'm going to play you a sort of 30-second clip here that I'll speed up. This whole move, United could be aggressive. We could throw a ball into the box. We could risk losing possession. But in the moment, they don't feel that it's the right thing to do. So they take their time, they pass the ball, they keep it moving side to side. And you saw they eventually won themselves a corner. Again, I think these are really good lessons to instill in young players, that you can play fast, you can play slow. And honestly, the understanding from a lot of these guys is really good. Their tempo management is quite nice, and all in all, it's just fun to watch. Now, of course, we are just 4 matches into the season, and this is only under-18s football. These players will have much bigger tests in their career, and even Darren Fletcher as the manager will have bigger tests. But I think the season has started very well, and in a season which for the first team has started a bit slow, it's been fun to watch the under-18s, watching players express themselves because the tactics allow them to, but also because they take on responsibility themselves, seeing them play in different ways, seeing them take on challenges, and playing in what I would call the United way, that fast, direct football, has been really, really entertaining. I've really enjoyed it. Will they go on and continue this form? I don't know. There are moments where we lose the ball in silly positions, for example, and I dare say we will concede at some point this season. But hopefully, the youngsters can have a good campaign. Hopefully, they can then have their opportunity to break in at a higher level, whether that be the under-21s or further into the Manchester United squad. I believe that some of these guys can get that chance because I think there's some serious quality. And importantly, the tactical structure is that. It's a structure. They have a plan of what they want to do, but also the players are allowed to express themselves. And I just think it's great that young footballers are given the ability to do that. So I think it's been a very, very good start to the season, but it is now the end of this video. So thank you guys very much for watching. I hope you have enjoyed it. If you have, please leave a like, subscribe, and get your notifications on. And as always, I will see you guys in the next one.